Our quote today is, "Yesterday I spent 45 minutes on the treadmill. I'm still trying to figure out how to turn that thing on." Today we look at the life of St. John Neumann, the great saint of Philadelphia. Born in Bohemia, modern-day Czech Republic, he was born in 1811 in a town called Budweis, and so that's where we get Budweiser beer from. And so maybe later today enjoy a Budweiser beer if you consider that actual beer. He was brilliant as a young man. He felt called to the priesthood. He began to study languages. By the time he entered the seminary, he had already learned how to speak 6 different languages, very similar to Pope John Paul II, who was so brilliant at languages. There were so many priests in Europe at that time. Imagine that, a surplus of vocations to the priesthood. So many of these young men looked across the ocean to try to help, especially immigrants that were coming to America in droves from Italy and Ireland and from Germany. So he felt God calling him to travel to North America and to work with the German-speaking immigrants. He wrote to the Bishop of New York, who accepted him as a seminarian. He traveled and took a ship across the ocean, 40 days to cross the ocean. He landed in New York City with only the clothes on his back and $1 in his pocket. He worked with the Archdiocese of New York, was ordained in 1836 as a priest, and the bishop sent him way up to Buffalo to work with the German immigrants there. His parish was 900 square miles. Imagine his territory. He traveled 10 to 20 miles a day on horseback, and the children would giggle at him because he was so short that his feet could not reach the stirrups. But he won them over by giving them, he always had pockets full of hard candy that he would give to the children to win them over and to evangelize. And he, after 4 years of traveling throughout this territory, he felt that he was isolated as a diocesan priest. He wanted to join a religious order, to have the community prayer life and other priests working with him. So he joined the Redemptorists, and he became close friends with Blessed Francis Selos, one of my favorite saints. And St. John Neumann would work throughout this area of upstate New York and Pennsylvania, Ohio, even in Maryland. He would work up in Niagara Falls area, Baltimore. And if you still go today to upstate New York and see parishes that were established by St. John Neumann, and they'll show you the museums there with the baptismal records that he signed and the weddings that he did and the first communions and first confessions. So he was a great evangelizer. And then, surprisingly, he was chosen by Blessed Pius IX, one of the greatest popes of all time, to be the 4th Bishop of Philadelphia. And he was only 41 years of age, but this time he had learned 12 languages. So he continued to learn and study. He went there and, of course, was received very coldly by the people of Philadelphia. They had already had 3 Irish bishops before, and here was this little Bohemian bishop with a thick accent. And yet, I guess that's where Philadelphia gets the title of the city of brotherly shove, right? That he had such a cold reception. But he, over time, won them over by his humility, his holiness, his pastoral care, his charity. I love that one story of this little old Irish lady who went to confession to him in Gaelic, and he responded in Gaelic and gave her good advice and absolution. She left the confessional and says, "Thanks be to God, we now have an Irish bishop." So he was only there for 8 years until he collapsed of a heart attack in the streets on Vine Street in Philadelphia at the young age of 48. But during those 7 or 8 years, he had established 100 Catholic schools. So he's really considered the founders of the parochial school system in the United States. When he got to Philadelphia, there were 2 Catholic schools. When he died, there were 100 Catholic schools. Remarkably, he helped to establish and found 80 parishes in those 8 years, which is incredible to have established and helped build 80 parishes. And he evangelized the people by writing catechisms. He wrote 2 catechisms that were used for decades in Philadelphia. And he also evangelized people through the 40 hours devotion, asking every parish to have 40 hours of Eucharistic adoration every year. As you know, here at St. Mary's, we do the 40 hours right before our feast day of Our Lady of Sorrows on September 15th. So he died on today's date in the year 1860, known for his pastoral zeal, his kindness, his holiness. And he really reminds me so much of our great Pope Benedict that has passed away, who will be buried today. And we see in Pope Benedict, as well as in St. John Neumann, a true shepherd, a shepherd who evangelized through writings and catechisms and teachings, as well as pastoral care and leading people to the Eucharist. If we want to evangelize our culture again today, we need to do it through those same ways, through charity, through humility, through teaching the truth, through education, especially Catholic schools and religious education, and then leading people to the Eucharist, especially Eucharistic adoration. St. John Neumann was beatified in 1963, canonized in 1977, the first bishop in America to be a canonized saint. So he and Mother Seton are the two great heroes and heroines of our Catholic faith in America. I'll give you a blessing now with the relic of St. John Neumann. I encourage you to go to Philadelphia, only a 3-hour drive, and visit his tomb. We only have a few saints buried in America, and he is there in Philadelphia. While you're there, you can get a good soft pretzel or a good cheesesteak. I'd recommend D'Alessandro's, my favorite steak place in Philadelphia. Through the intercession of St. John Neumann, may Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit.